Go Topless Jeep Weekend leads to hilarious viral news report and 180 arrests by David Moyen at a Huffington Post. So, a wild beach event that was last weekend in Galveston County, Texas, led to more than 180 arrests and a fairly hilarious viral news segment. And so, this is yet but another large gathering. Thousands of people gathered on the Gulf Coast of Bolivar Peninsula to celebrate Go Topless Jeep Weekend, an annual event that seemed to have more meaning this year to people who had lived the past 2 months mostly stuck in their homes. So we've been in quarantine and I need to get out and party. Beachgoers were saying. Chelsea Collier told Galveston NBC affiliate KBMT in the news report that has since gone viral. Collier claimed she was taking precautions to keep from getting the coronavirus by washing her hands for 20 seconds, but the station's video of the event captured lots of people twerking without masks and drinking and standing very close together. And so police at the event admitted that enforcing social distancing was pretty much impossible with this group, the New York Post noted. So we do what we can, and we cannot control individuals or what people do as far as their life. So we just try to manage the best way in whatever scenario occurs. Again, this is a large gathering. You're putting yourself and other lives at risk. There's no excuse for it. And a lot of people don't like being cooped up. There's a lot of people that are extroverts, but it's not worth putting your life and other many lives at risk. There's still a pandemic, and straight across the board, no matter what color, gender, race you are, what excuse you give, please try to be safe and limit the gatherings to a lot smaller groups of people, and just don't put your life and other people's lives at risk. I mean, if you want to do what you want to do with your life, that's one thing, but to put others at risk, that's a whole nother ball game altogether. And then when you put yourself out here in situations like this, it's going to cause you to possibly end up making bad decisions if you've been drinking, and you're probably going to end in arrest or maybe hospitalization or worse. So Galveston County Sheriff Henry Torchett told KBMT. Okay, so this is what happened here. So Torchett later told NBC News that the two men were shot in their torsos after an argument. So there actually was a shooting that took place in this gathering. So both had to be airlifted to the hospital. So their conditions haven't been released yet. So police were looking for a third man that fled the scene, and all told more than 180 attendees were taken into custody for numerous unrelated crimes, including assault, driving without wearing a seatbelt, driving while intoxicated, and public drunkenness, NBC told the news reported. And so by comparison, 80 people were arrested and 6 people were taken to the hospital at the 2019 event. Okay, and so, which I don't know why they put 2019, because 2019 is not when the pandemic happened, so that might be a typo right there. So a few locals were disappointed in some of the attendees' behavior, and so Boulevard resident Justin Weaver wondered to Fox News why we can't have a nice things. Sounds like almost the flip side. Why we can't have nice things? How come we can't be out? How come you're harassing us? These are people that hate this shutdown. They hate being locked up and cooped up, and they just basically want to defy all of this, and they want things to reopen. That's what it sounded like. But it's putting their life and other people's lives at risk, and then they're making bad decisions in the process. And so there's a lot of depression going on, a lot of people who are upset because they've lost their jobs. So a lot of that is mixed in with a lot of these gatherings as well. So I don't know why it's so hard for people to just show up and have fun these days. Weaver said, it's disappointing, or disappoints me, to see that kinds of violence come here, because it's usually real quiet here. It's just disappointing to see the kind of things that's happening. So on the other hand, KBMT coverage of the event went viral thanks to the footage that amply demonstrates how crazy people can get 2 months at home. And so now you're going to see footage on this as well, because I had another video where you saw footage on people that weren't social distancing. They didn't have their masks, and they had a gathering that went as much as like 3,000, but this is a gathering of 180, and 180 or more people got arrested. So we'll see how this one turns out. So this is out of Huffington Post, a guide to coronavirus. So it says they're still under the lockdown. So I believe that up there at the beginning where it said 2019 was a typo. Usually at the bottom they'll say that they made a typo, but they didn't. So I don't think they caught that. So every now and then I'll catch something that they made a mistake on. So dozens of arrests were made at a Topless Jeep weekend event. And so here it goes.
There are Southeast Texans going hungry in numbers we haven't seen in generations.
And as you can imagine, the strain right now on the Southeast Texas food bank out of this world. And they really, really need our help.
Donating as little as $1 will provide 3 meals for families that need it the most.
After several weeks of being stuck inside, thousands have flocked here to Bolivar Peninsula to make the most of their time while out.
Been in quarantine, and I need to get out and party. Woo!
Go Topless Jeep Weekend.
What's better than beach and a few drinks and Jeeps? Man, it can't better than that.
In full swing at beaches on Bolivar Peninsula. This event comes at a time where beaches across the state are reopening following the coronavirus pandemic. And beachgoers like Chelsea Collier are still taking precautions to stay safe.
Wash them hands for 20 seconds and keep them clean with their Germ-X. Totally.
At last year's Go Topless event, chaos erupted. About 80 people were arrested. 6 people were taken to the hospital. But this go-round, the Galveston County Sheriff's Office has enlisted the help of 40 DPS troopers.
Come down and have a good time. You have a good time, there's no issues. But when you start acting silly, like the sheriff said on the previous interview, we've got a jail that's got a whole lot of empty holes.
The Sheriff's Office have made at least 63 arrests so far in connection to Jeep Weekend. As for the enforcement of social distancing, they say it's challenging to enforce.
I mean, you can't. It's not possible to do that on this beach with the amount of people that we have here. It's just, we can't do that.
The additional presence of law enforcement has been a welcoming sight for beachgoers, given the history of this event.
Law enforcement's definitely made their visibility and made people chill out and not be as crazy. The cops are doing their job as long as they don't be mean to people who are actually being innocent. Then I'm all gravy, baby.
And if you missed out on today's festivities, you can come out tomorrow, like the Galveston County Sheriff's Office says, act responsible while having fun. Reporting here from Bolivar Peninsula, Jordan James, 12 News.
And so I wanted to say and add in here, that looked like it went a whole nother way than the other incident that we saw. Didn't end very well in the other incident. And there was a lot more people, and there was a lot of people who were upset. And it sounded like these officers pretty much weren't as vicious. So you see the difference in comparison to the gatherings. But still, I want to say that with both gatherings, the same goes for both. You know, it's still a pandemic, and you still have to abide by the rules. And this right here, to me, I think is not hilarious. I don't find it funny. It may be funny to some people, but you can clearly see the comparison of how the treatment is with the officers with this group of people versus the other video that I have with the other group of people, how they treated them. It was a lot more people, of course, but the treatment was a lot different. But then too, you have to also include that somebody produced a gun in the other gathering. So that was another cause for concern. So having said that, I'm going to let this video go. So what do you think about this? This social distancing doesn't work for everyone. Some people it does, and some people are in situations where they're high risk and they catch the disease. It could be fatal for them, so they take it more serious. And notice that these gatherings seem to have been a lot younger groups of people. And so that's another thing to consider. People who are more extrovert and more into going out and, staying inside is really hard for them to do. And so how do you look at this kind of thing? Because social distancing is one thing, spreading apart, but then staying home is not always easy for every single person. So with having said that, I will say this, the police treated them a lot different. I have to mention that. So let's be real here. And let's be real that this was a group of white party goers versus black party goers. So having said that, thanks for listening. And look what it's entitled, Go Topless Jeep Weekend.